Just after his daughter was born, Terry was in a terrible accident that left him in a coma for 19 years. When he finally woke up, his first words stunned everyone. Terry Wayne Wallace, 20, was on top of the world the day his wife Sandy gave birth to their daughter in 1984. Maybe not the happiest man on earth, but surely the happiest in all of Arkansas, where they lived as a young family. While Terry was overjoyed to become a father, he also carried a quiet fear. Could he be the kind of dad his daughter deserved? Would he give her the life he dreamed of? These questions often kept him awake at night, but one thing was certain: he was ready to try with all his heart. What he didn't know was that fate had something else in store, a cruel twist that would change everything. At first, everything seemed perfect, and the couple couldn't have asked for a better life. Terry and Sandy adored their daughter Amber. She brought so much light and joy into their lives. But things quickly took a shocking turn. Just 6 weeks after Amber's birth, Terry went out with his friend David to do some shopping. David wanted to get a surprise gift for his fiancée, while Terry needed to restock Amber's baby food. The two went out in Terry's pickup truck. When they were done shopping, they got into the truck and headed home. They were 30 minutes away from home when something terrible happened. A drunk and careless driver suddenly came around a corner, driving at full speed. In an attempt to avoid getting hit, Terry quickly maneuvered the car but lost control of the vehicle. In a flash, it seemed to pick up speed, skidded, and smashed into the fence railing of a small bridge before skidding over the edge and plunging into a creek 25 feet below. Somewhere in the car, Terry and his friend lay gasping for breath. Meanwhile, Sandy was home awaiting Terry's return. As the hours passed by with no signs of him or his friend, she began to panic. When night fell and he still hadn't returned home or picked up her calls, she freaked out. She immediately informed the police that her husband and his friend were missing, and the police launched a search for them. In terror, Sandy sat in the living room with Amber in her arms, waiting. This is the Arkansas Police Department. I'm sorry to say, but your husband was involved in a car accident. He is currently in the hospital. She didn't hear much after that. Her phone fell out of her hands, and she collapsed to the ground. She felt as if the whole world was crumbling down on her. A couple of minutes later, after the initial shock wore off, she swung into action and got a neighbor to look after Amber while she rushed to the hospital in her car. It was there that she learned the severity of the accident. Terry's friend had died on the spot, while Terry himself had become paralyzed and fallen into a coma. When Sandy went into his hospital room to see him, she lost control of her emotions. Her young husband was wrapped in bandages and attached to a variety of machines that monitored his condition and provided life-saving treatment. Filled with grief, Sandy took Terry's hands in hers and cried, "No, you can't leave me." She wept bitterly. "We just had our daughter. You need to wake up. You need to fight." But Terry remained still and unconscious. She stayed with him for a few more hours and then returned home to be with her daughter. Sandy's life changed after that incident. Her life had been perfect, and all of a sudden, she was all alone and had to take care of Amber by herself. Luckily for her, Terry's mom, Helen, moved into the house to help her in every possible way. They all held on to the hope that Terry would soon wake up. Days passed, weeks rolled into months, and soon it was 2 years, yet Terry's condition remained the same. While in a coma, his family would often visit him. They would read him his favorite books and play his favorite music for him. They also took Amber with them, and the little girl would tell their dad how much she loved him. It continued in this way, and eventually 14 years passed by, yet Terry did not wake up. A year later, having tried their best and every possible treatment, the doctors gave up on Terry. They believed he would never wake up, so they called Sandy into their office and told her it was time to pull the plug on Terry. Hearing those words, Sandy was baffled and filled with rage. She vehemently told the doctors she would never take her husband off life support. With that, she rushed out of their office and headed straight to Terry's room. "Honey, you have to wake up. You have to fight and show them that you're alive," she said as she held his hands and wept bitterly. After this episode, Sandy and Terry's mom requested to bring him home on some weekends, and the doctors agreed. Although it wasn't easy moving him from the hospital to the house and back, Sandy and Helen believed it would positively impact Terry's health. The family made sure Terry wasn't alone for more than an hour. Either Sandy, Helen, or Amber would be by his side, and sometimes the trio sat by his bed. They would tell him about the latest events in the country and the world at large. The doctors thought the family was only wasting their time on Terry, but one day on the 12th of June 2003, their efforts paid off, and something extremely shocking happened. That day, Amber went to her father's room to check on him. She had just gotten into a relationship and wanted to tell Terry about her boyfriend, as the family usually did whenever they spoke to him. Amber held his hands, but this time around, something unexpected happened. Terry suddenly moved his finger. It was a slight movement, so Amber ignored it, thinking it was all in her head. But as she kept talking, it happened again, and this time she knew it was real. "Oh my God," she gasped as she rose to her feet. "Dad is awake," she screamed. She immediately went to call her mother, who then called the doctors. When the doctors arrived at the house, they ran some tests on him to be sure he was out of the coma, and to the doctor's utmost surprise, he responded to their touch and even established eye contact when they called his name. But the surprises were far from over. Later that evening, one of the doctors pointed at Helen and asked Terry if he knew her. Terry stared for a while, and then he spoke his first word, "Mom." The doctors couldn't believe their ears. Immediately after uttering his first word, Terry asked for a Pepsi, his favorite drink. Before he had slipped into a coma, he also apologized to Sandy for not getting back on time with the baby food. The now 38-year-old man, having been in a coma for 19 years, still believed he was in 1984. The doctors were shocked. Terry's awakening was nothing short of a miracle, and they had no explanation for it. Although Terry finally regained consciousness and was eventually introduced to his teenage daughter, whom he immediately recognized, he was still disabled and couldn't do most things by himself. But thanks to his family's care, protection, and love, Terry lived his life to the fullest for 19 more years. He passed away on March 29, 2022, at the age of 57, surrounded by family and loved ones. His long journey was made possible by the unwavering dedication of those who never gave up on him. What a heartfelt story. How would you have approached this situation if you were in Sandy's position? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, please give our video a thumbs up and share it with your loved ones. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay updated with our channel. Thank you.